It's Structure Deck Day! So, the Fire King Structure Deck has been released, and I've made a DOGMATIKA variant to show you all. So, let's get into the profile. 2 copies of Sacred Fire King Garunix. This is a winged beast with 2700 attack. If your monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle or card effects, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when the monster was destroyed, or your hand even if not. And then if this card is normal or special summoned, destroy 1 fire beast, beast warrior or winged beast in your hand, deck or face-up field except itself, and then this card gains attack equal to half the monster's attack until the end of the turn. So, this is your big boss. It is very, very easy to summon. You can summon it off a search with something like Fire King Ireland, which requires you to destroy a fire monster, and then you will immediately get to special summon it. On summon, it destroys any fire monster in your hand, deck, or field, which enables you to extend more and more throughout that, and we'll show you what you're normally destroying in a moment. It's also level 8, which enables you to make your rank 8 play into the new Xyz monster, which is a walking board wipe, and is one of your main interruptions, and he just gets big and beats face, which means he ends games nice and quickly. Next, we have 3 copies of Fire King High Avatar Kirin. So, during the main phase, as a quick effect, if this card is in your hand, you can destroy another fire monster in your hand or face-up field, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, special summon a Fire King monster from your hand or graveyard except itself, and then you can destroy 1 card on the field. So, this will quite frequently be one of the cards you pop from the deck with Sacred Fire King Garunix, because when it's popped from the deck, it immediately extends further, putting another body back onto the field. The pop after that is optional, so if you don't want to destroy anything, you don't have to, and it's also destroy 1 card, not destroy 1 fire monster, so you can target your own opponent's stuff as well as your own. On the flip side, its hand effect is a quick effect. It enables you to dodge things like Effect Failure or Infinite Impermanence on, say, your Fire King Ponix, which is a crucial part of your combo. And then it special summons itself. It's your other level 8, which enables you to make your Xyz plays, and again is a mainstay of most of your combo plays in this deck. 3 copies of Legendary Fire King Ponix. Ponix is level 1. If your monster that was originally fire is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summoned, add 1 Fire King spell trap from your main deck to your hand. During the next standby phase after this card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard, add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So, this card has a really, really easy summoning restriction. It gets you access to Fire King Sanctuary, which gets you access to Fire King Ireland, which allows you to make your combo plays. It adds itself back if it's popped, which means it can be popped again and again. You always have some material that you can pop. If you have access to Island or Sanctuary, you can very, very easily get one of the other pieces, like Fire King Skyburn, which is another piece of removal for the deck. It's level 1, so it very easily goes into something like Linkaribo, which you need to make Deco Talker Heat Soul. Crucial card, one of the most important pieces of the deck, and one of the things we want to find. It's the reason people are playing this deck with diabellstar, because it's a level 1 fire monster. We then have our Beast Warrior package of the Fire King, so we have 3 copies of Fire King Avatar Arvata. So these are Beast Warriors, which means they're searchable with Fire Formation Tenki. So Arvata is a monster negate while it's face up on the field. You can negate the activation, destroy a fire monster in your hand or field, and then negate it. And then if this card is destroyed, you can target a beast warrior, or winged beast fire monster in your graveyard, accept itself, summon it, and negate its effects, and then destroy it during the end phase. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this provides you with interruption, which is nice and easy to get, because you can just normal summon it. It provides you with extension because it destroys fire monsters, so you destroy Ponix, you get it back, you destroy Kirin, you get to bring something else back and pop something. If you've then got Garunix in the graveyard, you then get to bring that back and pop something else from your deck, and you can see how that just sets off a big long chain of destruction effects, enabling you to advantage off that. Arvata is used in some of your combos because it's has a monster reborn effect, so it's very, very easy to just sort of swap this out for something else, get something out of the graveyard from your hand. Just remember, it does negate the effect, so you can't do something like search off Ponix with it. One copy of Fire King Avatar Rangbali. So Rangbali has a spell trap negate built in the same way that Arvata does. Rangbali does not have a destruction effect. Okay, so destroying Rangbali does not do anything unless you need to destroy a fire monster to summon a Garunix or a Ponix or something like that. However, Rangbali, if it sees a fire monster destroyed, it can special summon itself from the hand. And then it has a spell trap negate in the same way that Arvata has a monster negate. So it's a little bit less flexible than Arvata because it doesn't have its own destruction effect, but has the extension, is still a normal summonable negate, and provides you with that spell trap negate. One copy of Fire King Avatar Barong. So Barong, if face-up Fire King monster is destroyed, you special summon this card from your hand, and then once per turn, during the next standby phase after this card was destroyed by card effect, add one Fire King card from your deck to your hand, except itself. So this is your searcher, this is your safest destruction option. If you don't know what else to destroy, Barong's usually a good choice, because it will get you another piece of interaction, say a Kirin, or something like that next turn. Just remember, if you destroy Barong because it's a delayed effect, and then you special summon it, its effect doesn't activate until the next turn, so it has to be in the graveyard after it was destroyed in the next standby phase. So if you special summon it back and then link it off, even if it was destroyed earlier in the turn, you will not get to search. Just remember that. So for the Dogmatika package, we play one copy of Dogmatika Maximus and one copy of Dogmatika Fleur-de-Lis. So Maximus can banish a Fusion, Synchro, Xyz or Link monster from the graveyard and summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, activate this effect, send 2 monsters with different names from the extra deck to the graveyard. Also, your opponent sends 2 monsters from their extra deck to the graveyard. Just be careful in Mirrors or something like Branded, where they have graveyard effects, or Labyrinth, indeed. And then you cannot special summon from the extra deck. This deck does not use the extra deck that much. Most of your interruption comes within the deck itself. So, Maximus enables you to search Ponix by sending a Garura with Nadir Servant, draw a card, banishing it to summon Maximus, and then as part of Maximus's effect, you can send something like Tri-Brigade Shurag, which can search a level 1 winged beast, like Ponix. It provides you with interruption and information about your opponent's deck, what deck they're on. So it can be risky to blind do it, because if you, say, are against Labyrinth, and they send something like an Entis, or a Garura, then suddenly you've just lost your Maximus and they've drawn a card. So do be careful with using Maximus, because your opponent gets to choose which cards get sent, but it can provide vital disruption against decks that have that very, very tight space in the extra deck and need all of their pieces to interact with you. Fleur-de-Lis is a nice big body that's very, very easy to summon. If a monster summoned from the extra deck is on the field, special summon this from a card from your hand. If you control another Dogmatika monster, like Maximus, you can then negate the effects of one face-up monster on the field until the end of this turn, and then when a Dogmatika monster declares an attack, you can make all Dogmatika monsters gain 500. So it can get nice and big very, very easily. It provides you with another piece of negation, another piece of interaction, which is very, very easy to search through use of Nadir Servant, or through use of sending something like Titaniclad with Maximus's effect. For our hand traps, we're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Ring, best generic hand trap in the game. You know what Ash Blossom does. It's also a fire monster, which very, very occasionally does come up, because it is a target that you can destroy for effects if you don't have a Fire King. So just be aware that Ash Blossom is a fire monster and can be used for some of your effects, but it's also just generic searching negation. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. This comes with the deck, so of course, because it reduces the price. So that's why we're playing Droll and Lockbird. It comes with the deck. It's a very, very good hand trap. Stops anything from being added from deck to hand. Just remember, it's for the rest of the turn, and it's symmetrical, so don't try do loads of searching in your opponent's turn after you've drolled them, because it will not work. And remember, you can only droll in the main phase. Our final 2 monster hand traps are 2 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. We like hand traps in this deck because one of our main combo lines goes through Decode Talker Heat Soul, so we want to get interruptions that work in the hand, not just interruptions that we have to set on the field. for our spells. 3 copies of Fire King Sanctuary. This is one of the new cards from the deck. When this card is activated, place a Fire King Island from your deck face up in the field zone. That does not... that cannot be ashed. They cannot Ash Blossom this. You can do this under Droll and Lockbird. Nowhere on that effect of Fire King Sanctuary does it add a card from deck to hand, or send a card from deck to graveyard, or anything like that. You place it straight from the deck. It's not activated either. So just be aware of that. They cannot Ash Fire King Sanctuary. They cannot Droll you when you use Fire King Sanctuary, and you can activate Fire King Sanctuary under the effect of Droll and Lockbird. Very important. More importantly, if in your field zone will be destroyed by card effect, you can destroy a fire monster in your hand or field instead. Fire King Island nukes the board if it gets destroyed, so sometimes that works well for you because you have loads of effects that can go off. Sometimes you do not want that to happen at all, so you can protect with Fire King Sanctuary. And then finally, the most important effect, once per turn, if your opponent summons a monster, you can, immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon a Fire Xyz monster using Fire King monsters you control. So you use Kieran and Sacred Garunix as rank 8s to make the new Xyz monster. And this is searched with Ponix. 3 copies of Fire King Island. So Island, field spell, if it's destroyed in the field zone and sent to the graveyard or banished, destroy all monsters you control. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Sometimes it's a good, sometimes it's a shit. So just be careful with that. And Sanctuary lets you protect. During a main phase, destroy 1 monster in your hand or field, and if you do, add a Fire King from your deck to your hand. And then finally, if you control no monsters, summon 1 Fire Winged Beast monster from your hand. So most of the time we're going to use the pop and search effect to get pop anything, getting us access to Garunix, which then gets a special summon, which then lets us pop something in the deck, and you see how that works. On the other hand, sometimes we brick, or sometimes this is the way we have to get to Ponix, so we use Island to summon out Ponix from our hand, or Garunix, Sacred Garunix from our hand, and get off to the races that way. Remember, it's only once per turn, and once that turn, so you can't use both effects. You have to choose, and most of the time we're going to use the pop and search effect. 3 copies of Fire Formation Tenki. 2 of these are in German, so don't worry about that. Lets you search a Beast Warrior, level 4 or lower Beast Warrior from your deck to your hand. Lets you get any of your level 4s, which provide you with normal summonable negates, which means if you can use them. If you haven't normal summoned, very, very easy. Gets you more fodder to pop with your destruction effects, and so on. So very, very good generic card there. 3 copies of Nadir's Servant. This is our Dogmatika package. Send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, then add to your hand 1 Dogmatika or Fallen Abalbaz from the deck to the graveyard that has attack less than or equal to that sent monster, and then for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So this gets you access to Maximus. That's usually what we're going for, because Maximus has the more useful effect on turn 1. We can send Garura to get us a draw, we can send Entis to get us a pop, we can send whatever we want basically. We play a lot of targets in the extra deck that enable us to use this effectively. And we have some redundancy built into the extra deck as well, to mean that if our opponent does something like Maximus is us, or is Kashtira Unicorn, or something like that, we can still activate our Nadir Servant and get value off the thing we send. So this lets us access the Dogmatika part of the deck. We then have a couple of one-offs. We have 1 copy of 1 for 1. It's at 1, so we can only play 1. It gets us Ponix from the deck. Ponix gets us everything else we need from the deck. So, yeah, that's why we have the 1 for 1. 1 copy of Fire King Skyburn. If you have access to Island or Sanctuary and you don't need to search it with Ponix, then you can add this instead, which gives you another interruption. Target an equal number of Fire King monsters and cards your opponent controls, destroy them. If Fire King card will be destroyed by card effect, banish this card from the graveyard instead. You can use only 1 effect per turn and once that turn. So it's just another interruption. It's like an Icarus attack type thing for Fire Kings, or a Sword Soul Blackout. Not quite the same because it's the same number, but obviously you benefit off popping your cards and your opponent hopefully doesn't, unless it's the mirror. It enables you It also provides you with some more protection if you don't want to do that, and gives you another quick way of blowing up some of your cards to get their effects. Finally, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, comes in the deck, finally has a common printing, as another card that's really, really good going first, or second as an interruption in that regard. That is our main deck, so let's get into our extra deck. 2 copies of Garunix Eternity, Yang of the Fire Kings. So 2+ level 8 monsters, so we normally make this with Garunix and Kirin. If this card is Xyz summoned, destroy all other monsters on the field. Big 3k body. You can detach material from this card, target a spell trap on the field, destroy it, and this card gains 500 attack. If this card is destroyed while it has material, you can special summon Fire King monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had, and then you can only use that effect once per turn. Each effect once per turn. So it provides you with a board nuke, which then triggers all of your Fire King effects if you've got others on the board. It provides you with spell and trap removal, and it turns itself into another body if it's destroyed. This is our main boss monster, our main form of interruption. Our opponent sets up all their material and goes to make a big play, and then we just blow up the board. The other rank 8 we're running is 1 copy of Dingirsu, Orchestra of the Evening Star. Sometimes things can't be destroyed, and we need an out that doesn't destroy. So we play Dingirsu, and it lets us send instead and doesn't target. Because a lot of our stuff targets, and a lot of our stuff says destroy on it, because that's the whole theme of the deck. It also can protect stuff if we need to as well from our own destruction. It enables us to tribute a level 1 monster, and to tribute itself and set a monster's attack to 0, and then it can bring itself back. Sunlight Wolf, if a monster is summoned to its link point, can add something back to hand. And then Decode Talker Heat Soul enables us to draw cards, needs Cyburst monsters with 2 different attributes, which is why we can't use Almirage. And then you get to draw a card as a quick effect, which obviously means you get to draw 2 cards with it, as you get to draw on your turn and your opponent's turn. And then it gives things it points to 500 attack. We also play an Almirage because sometimes we need to get, we have a normal summoned Ponix and we need to get rid of it. And we need to use it to summon a monster to the link point of the Sunlight Wolf to bring something back. 1 copy of Heater, Fire Charmer, Ablaze. This is the generic fire version of all the others. We play pretty much entirely fire monsters. So this is by far the easiest one to make. You can crash this into something, search from the deck, or you can use it to bring back your opponent's Ash Blossom or something similar. 1 Nightmare Unicorn is another generic non-destruction out. We will very rarely make this, but it's useful to have. Would obviously ideally be SP Little Knight, but for obvious reasons it cannot be. And then we have our sort of Send to Graveyard and Dear Servant package. Okay, so we play 6 cards, which is quite a lot for that. So we have 1 Tri-Brigade Arms Bicephalus. This enables us to search Fleur-de-Lis directly when we don't want to pop something on the field. So we can search Fleur-de-Lis with this, and then we can send, if we already have, say, Maximus, but we also have Nadir Servant, and then we can send Garura to draw a card. Ferrijit, the Barren Blossom, lets us put a card, draw a card and put a card back, so lets us dig through our deck a little bit further, find another interruption or similar. Tri-Brigade Shurag lets us search for a winged beast, or beast warrior whose level is equal to the banish number of winged beast, or beast warrior. So banish a Garura, that gives us 1, which means we can search Ponix. So this is a common card we send with something like Nadir Servant or with Maximus. 1 Entis allows Nadir Servant to be a board breaker. It also can target any card on the field, so in a pinch we can target one of our own Fire Kings with it as well. Garura, the best generic, it's a winged beast, which means it works for things like Shurag, lets us draw a card. And then finally, 1 Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon, as a card we can send if we're searching with Maximus's effect to give us access to Fleur-de-Lis, which then makes it live because it searches it for us in the end phase. We'll have a Dogmatika monster, we'll hopefully have something like a Decode Talker Heat Soul, or our opponent will commit to a link play, and then we can use Fleur-de-Lis as a negate as well. So, that is the deck. It is under about 100, it should be under $100. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.